The Philadelphia Eagles are back in black for another primetime Week 6 showdown against the New York Giants, and we all remember what happened the last time. Mike Owens is here. I'm Adrian Fedke. The big question going around Philadelphia this week is Eli Manning afraid of the dark?
Well, last year, Eli Manning was afraid of the dark, so the Eagles decided that they're going to do the same thing this year, and they're going to turn out the lights on Monday Night Football and bring out the black jerseys.
Oh, man, it's a really eerily similar script to last year's game. Giants start out 0-2. They win their next 3 games, and they come in 3-2 on the season, and then they get spanked by the Eagles, 27-0. Eli gets sacked 8 times. They go on to lose their next 7 games, and, hopefully the script repeats itself. The only difference this time is instead of playing on Sunday night, they're playing on Monday night.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is really a huge game for both teams, and really a huge game for the Eagles because with the Giants winning last week, the Giants are a game ahead of everybody else right now in the NFC East. So with the Eagles already starting out 0-2 in the division, they can't afford to lose any more division games. So they got to go into this Monday night game and hopefully be really fired up with their all-black uniforms on, which gave us a 27-0 victory last year against the Giants. Just one of those absolutely dominant performances, and that's really what I think we need to see from this Eagles team against the Giants, because there's still a lot of questions with this Eagles team. And if they really want to, turn the corner, this is a game for them to do it.
Yeah, I mean, how crazy is it? After 2 weeks into the season, everybody's jumping off the bridge. Season's over, all that. Obviously, the Bitterbirds were always around, and we were actually the ones. At least I remember I was one. I don't know if you were saying the same thing. I mean, after the Dallas game, I was like, listen, guys, the Eagles, they're going to be in first place in the NFC East by the time they play Dallas again. And, it might happen sooner, because if the Redskins lose and the Eagles beat up on the Giants again, then, guess who's in first place? It's Philly. It's Chip. Everybody wanted him gone already. Well, guess what? We're back in first, and back in black. And, and going back to something else I wanted to talk about just really quickly before we move on to the game. Now, while the script is similar, even when looking at the sack thing, because last year the Eagles, they got off to a slow start, racking up the sack totals. They had 7 in their first 4 games last year, 6 in their first 4 games this year. And then you look at week 5, we sacked Drew Brees 5 times. You look at last year against Austin Davis, the Eagles sacked him 4 times. So leading into the Giants game, they finally found some traction in the sack game. And then they went and just mauled Eli. And, coming into that game last year, we heard about how quickly Eli gets the ball out. One top 5 in the league and getting the ball out. Same is true this year. He's 4th in the league, 2.22 seconds, getting the ball out, and it's the same thing. But with that being said, it's also a very different, team that we have this year. Obviously, you got Sam Bradford now, you got DeMarco Murray, you got a completely revamped secondary. So, while it's the same script, a lot of different pieces too.
Well, yeah, I mean, this Eagles team is pretty much completely new, a lot of new pieces here. So it's going to be, a completely different matchup than last season against the Giants. We took both games last year against the Giants. In fact, Chip Kelly has a 3-1 mark so far against the Giants in his 2 seasons so far in the league. So obviously, Chip has a good record, and the one, a key component to this game is it's going to be Walter Thurman at the safety position, because he's a guy that played for the Giants last year, even though he only played in 2 games because he suffered a pectoral injury that ended the season. He's a guy that's really shined here in Philly at the safety position, also playing in the slot. So he's a guy that really knows that Giants offense. So he's a key guy, especially if Odell Beckham plays.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that because Pat Shurmur was the offensive coordinator in St. Louis, and Steve Spagnuolo was the defensive coordinator in St. Louis. And but we all know Chip's calling the plays. So Shurmur's going to have some tips for Chip as to Steve's tendencies and all that stuff. But going on to this game now, let's talk about our offense. I know that's what everybody likes to talk about. So we'll start out with our offense once again on this show. Start with Sammy Sleeves. So the Giants are dead last in the NFL, allowing 304 yards per game through the air. They are second in the league in stopping the run. Let's see, what are the numbers here? They're like 80.4 or something, 80.6 against the run. First against yards per carry, 3.5 per attempt. Teams are averaging against them. So they're stopping the run, but
well, last week we were going against the really bad Saints defense, and we said if there was ever a week for Bradford and the offense to really get this thing going, it was last week against the Saints, and that's really going to carry over into this week. Giants secondary is not the greatest, and they really kind of suffered a big blow today. They learned that their top cornerback, Prince Amukamara, has suffered a partial tear of his pec. So that means that he's out 2 to 4 weeks, and those things tend to linger a little bit more. So you can expect him probably to be out a month. So that's not good news for the Giants, considering that they're already last in the league with their passing defense. So this really opens up things for Bradford again. And I think that you're going to see the Eagles really air it out in this game. You might expect to see guys like Josh Huff step up. It's going to be those second and third string guys that can really take advantage.
Yeah, these are my thoughts on the pass defense. We kind of talked about this before the show. So while they are dead last in the league in allowing the pass yards per game, 304, they are 14th in the NFL in passer rating against at 91.4. Now, the reason why the 304 number is high, why they are dead last, is because they're winning. They're basically coming into the fourth quarter with a lead in every single game they play. You had Dallas in week 1. You had Atlanta in week 2. You had the Redskins, they beat up on them, and the Redskins had to throw the ball a lot in the fourth quarter. Yeah, you had a lead against Buffalo, and then you did it last week against the Niners. So they are allowing big chunks, but part of the reason why is because they go into the fourth quarter with leads. Now, the other reason why teams are throwing the ball really, really well against them is they're not generating much of a pass rush. You look at who they have, and they're really missing JPP right now. You guys got Robert Ayers as one defensive end, and he's a good football player, but he's more of a run stuffer. And for whatever reason, they have Cullen Jenkins out there at defensive end. He's more of a D tackle, and he's not going to be pressuring the quarterback either. He's more of a run stuffer too. So they're not generating a lot of pressure. 7 sacks, tied for 26 in the league. So you're not generating a pass rush. The linebackers are pretty bad against the pass. And, I do like the secondary. The safeties stink. But Prince Amukamara and Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie are a good duo. But without Prince in the lineup, I think Sammy's got a good shot, and he's going to have a big game against the G-Men.
Yeah, without Amukamara, what they're really going to do is you're going to see a lot of Jaron Hosley. So he's going to get some playing time in there. And, Eagles should be able to take advantage of that. We all remember DRC from his time in Philadelphia. Wasn't the greatest time for him. So he's turned things around since his departure from Philadelphia. So he's a solid cornerback, but with Amukamara, it's really a tough blow for them because he was really coming along this year, started to come along last year, but he's a guy that's always been injury prone, and this injury it really throws a wrench into their passing defense.
Yeah, it really does. You know, the Eagles receivers, they're not that great besides Jordan Matthews right now. And I try to remember, is it Tremaine McBride who plays the slot? I'm not 100% sure. But, you know, the two outside corners, like I said, were good. Obviously, Prince is out. J-Rod Hosley's like, you know. But I think Matthews is going to go off, and I think the two other guys to watch out for in the passing game are Zach Ertz and Darren Sproles. You know, Harvey Unga, or not, what's his name? Uwani Unga, the rookie there for the Giants. He is one of the worst pass coverage linebackers I've ever seen in my life. I mean, if he ever gets matched up on Sproles or Ertz, he's going to get burned. But they do have John Beeson back, so he's probably going to get some less snaps. But I swear to God, if he's in the game, you go after him. I mean, he's terrible.
Yeah, well, this is really going to be one of those games again where the Eagles' offensive line is going to have to step it up, especially, you know, in the running game like they did last week against the Saints. They did a really, really nice job of getting out and blocking on those sweep plays. So this might be another game where the Eagles have to run that sweep play a lot and have some success. And this could be another situation where it's you know, Ryan Matthews is having more success because he's really good at that cutback on the sweep play. So we'll see. But yeah, the Eagles, if they want to have success passing in this game, even though the Giants don't have a great pass defense, they're going to have to establish some kind of running game.
Yeah, and let's go to the running game now. Let's talk about it. You know, like we referenced before, the Giants are second in the league in yards allowed per game on the run, first in yards per carry allowed, and it's a very stout defensive line against the run. You know, we mentioned Cullen Jenkins, we mentioned Robert Ayers, but the big name in the middle there is Jonathan Hankins. I don't know how a you know player in New York can be so underrated, but Hankins is a beast, man. Really, really good defensive tackle there. Stuffs the run, always in the backfield. Really good player. And he's going to be going up against, I believe, Barbary. So that's not going to be good. but it'll be interesting to see if how Chip manages the plays again. Because against the Jets game, he went and, you know, a lot of snaps under center, a lot of runs under center for Murray or for Matthews. And then he kind of went away from it the next week. Last week, we saw him come back to it again, ran the ball 18 times under center. And we'll see if he kind of goes back to that because, you know, they started out under center and then they went to the sweep play. And that's where they had and generated success against the Saints. Now, you know, I'm curious to see if they can run the ball against the Giants, because, you know, let's face it, the Saints defense isn't any good. So I'm basically not giving the Eagles any credit for establishing a running game last week. I got to see it against the Giants for me to, you know, say that they have made some strides moving forward.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. This will be a good chance, a good test, I mean, against this Giants defensive line. So we'll see if the Eagles can run the ball between the tackles. It's kind of really running the ball between the tackles has kind of really been a struggle for them this year. So we'll see. The one guy that's really struggling between the tackles right now is Murray. So he's got to get it going. The problem is he just can't get to that second level. Matthews has done a better job between the tackles. He has more of a burst of speed. He's breaking tackles, getting 3 or 4 yards. So, well, yeah, we'll see how the Eagles divvy up the running back duo there. But Sproles is going to be a guy to watch in this game. Talking about their linebackers, I think that he's a guy that they're going to utilize more this week. You didn't really see him too much last week against the Saints because the Saints had an eye on him the whole game. Obviously, the Saints know what he is capable of, so they made sure that he wasn't going to do anything. So this could be a week where their wheel route returns.
Oh, the good old wheel route, baby. Oh, I am just licking my chops thinking of Darren Sproles and those linebackers. But going back to a point that you're making, I've made this point on prior shows. Everybody wants to see DeMarco Murray taking runs under center, going between the tackles, but the problem with this is our guards stink, and Jason Kelce is only 280 pounds. So, they're trying to run the ball between the tackles, but there's not any push being established because the guards stink and Jason Kelce's small. So it's tough to do that. Now, if you look where the Eagles had a lot of success last week, it was running off the left edge. And let's see, what were the numbers? All right, here they are. So they get 186 yards on the ground last week against New Orleans. 107 of them came off the left edge, and these were on 9 carries. So what that tells me is Kelce was doing an outstanding job pulling on the sweep, and Jason Peters was back to being his dominant self in the run game.
Yeah, well, the Eagles' offensive line, after the Saints game, they said that they got back on track because before they were kind of overthinking things. So it seems like they're just getting back to the fundamentals and playing the football that they know. They're an athletic group, so they know that they can run those sweep plays, but they just have to get out there and block it. So hopefully the Saints game was a sign of things to come, because in order for the Eagles to continue to have success on the ground, they're really going to need, Peters and Kelce and Lane Johnson to step up on those sweep plays.
Yeah, I mean, it was encouraging to see that Peters and Kelce were back to being the dominant selves. But once again, it's the Saints, so we got to see it again. And, I'm feeling a little bit confident. I think they can establish at least a little bit of a running game. The numbers might look a little bit ugly, but, I think they can run the ball a little bit. If you go on the sweep play against this team, I think this is where you can generate some success, because if you go on Cullen Jenkins' side on that sweep play, I mean, he's a big boy. So he's really a D tackle. He's not a defensive end. So if you kind of run to that side with the sweep, I think that's what can generate success.
Yeah, no, that's a good point there. So, yeah, it's going to be a game where the Eagles have to use a sweep, but hopefully in this game too, they can establish somewhat of a passing game early on. I think that really helped them out in the Saints. They got Bradford into a rhythm, even though he did struggle with those 2 bad interceptions in the red zone earlier in the game. He did all right besides that. So they really got to just get Bradford going. If they get the running game going, then they can do that bootleg that they ran with Bradford last week against the Saints, and that's really it worked out well for him against the Saints. I mean, the one play where Josh Huff got his touchdown, the 2 Saints ran into each other, but that's a play where you really get the tight ends involved. And Ertz was wide open on that play too. He very easily could have got the touchdown if Bradford threw him the ball. So this is a game, like you were saying before, that maybe you start to see more of Ertz, which we saw last week against the Saints.
Yeah, great point there. If you can get the sweep play going, that's what sets up that bootleg that Bradford really seems like he likes to run. He seems really comfortable on the move and throwing on the move, and really accurate throwing strikes. So if you can get that sweep play established, then you can go to that. So
yeah, well, the something's up with our offense. The key is going to be for us to get off to a fast start. For some reason, we are just coming out of the gates very slow this season, especially the first quarter. I mean, we cannot do anything in the first quarter as far as points are concerned. And if you look at Bradford's numbers from the first half compared to the second half this year, he's a totally different quarterback. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league in the first half of a game, and he's one of the best in the second half of a game. So that's why hopefully they can get this offense, playing over all 4 quarters and have Bradford perform, hopefully during the entire game like he does in the second half.
yeah, and what we saw last week, unfortunately, he threw those 2 red zone interceptions, but The thing that we were seeing last week to start out the game, a lot more passing to start out. Before it was, runs with Murray. They love throwing that swing pass to Murray. But last week it was, the hitches, the little stop routes, the little crossing routes. And that's what we were seeing from Bradford. And it was working early on. It just, unfortunately, the red zone interceptions came into play.
Yeah, thank God that we abandoned that little swing pass to Murray to start off the game last week. That is like I hate that as a first play, and that's like what really got him into trouble, especially in the Falcons game to start off the season. So yeah, that play is fine for later on in the game, but not to start off. Yeah, they just got to start off some short passes with Bradford like they did against the Saints and get them going.
Yeah, I mean, I can see what Chip's mindset is there. I mean, you get Bradford maybe a little bit going with a little swing pass, and you get Murray a touch. But I mean, every time they run this play to start out the game against the Falcons, I believe they did it against the Cowboys too. I mean, it just doesn't work. So there's that.
Yeah, so they can they don't use that play early on, we'll be happy. They gotta save that for later. It's almost one of those plays where if they do run that play, I would almost rather see them have Matthews out there or Sproles.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Exactly right. All right, let's move on to the defensive side of the ball. And Eli Manning, obviously last year they sacked him 8 times. But I don't know if that's going to be the case again this year. We shall see. It's not a great offensive line, but Eli does get rid of the ball really, really quickly. So I know a lot of people are saying that the key to the game is generating pressure on Eli, but I kind of view things a little bit differently. I think because they do run that dink and dunk stuff, and try to get that going. I think the key to the game is tackling. And once they catch that dink and dunk stuff, you make immediate tackles. And they like to get Vereen involved, and Jordan Hicks is going to be on him in the flats, and the little angle routes, all that good stuff. This is a big game for Hicks, and guys got to tackle.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And well, the one guy who has been a sure tackler on this team is Malcolm Jenkins. You always see him coming up from the safety position or coming up from the slot and making those plays on the running backs or the wide receivers when they do a screen play. So it's going to be key for the Eagles to stop guys like Vereen on those screen passes or passes out into the flat. So the Eagles got to watch out for that. And if they bring too much pressure, then that's where those little screen passes and passes into the flat can hurt you. So I think that really they have to have a similar game plan that they had last week against the Saints. They got to hope that their secondary can hold up against the wide receivers, which they should be able to do. I mean, this is all depending on how healthy Odell Beckham is. Obviously, he's going to be the main guy there. But the Eagles did a really nice job, especially Byron Maxwell last week against the Saints. And the pressure that they generated was from their coverage. So, again, the coverage in this game is going to be key.
Yeah, I mean, Fletcher Cox had 3 sacks. Team had 5 total, but all these sacks were basically coverage sacks. And the coverage was outstanding downfield. Breeze had nowhere to go with the ball, held on to it, and, we sacked them. Now, in terms of generating pressure, we shall see, because this offensive line, like I said, it's not very good. You got a rookie first-rounder, Eric Flowers, starting at left tackle. Your other tackle is Marshall Newhouse. He stinks. The guards are Justin Pugh and Jeff Schwartz. Pugh kind of moved over to guard this year, I believe. He was a tackle before, former first-rounder in 2013. But he has made a nice transition to guard. He's been playing pretty well, I think. Jeff Schwartz is a guy, I believe he was hurt like pretty much all of last year. He was a good guard before coming to New York with the Chiefs. He's playing okay, I guess. Weston Richburg was a second rounder last year. He's the center. So it's a line that I think can be had. It's just like I said, Eli gets the ball out so damn fast.
Yeah, and it's interesting because last week we were worried about Drew Brees getting the ball out fast, and well, our coverage was good, and Brees held on to the ball a little bit too long, and he really took some sacks that he shouldn't have taken. Fletcher Cox did a nice job of getting in there on him. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if Eli makes the same mistake as Brees with holding on to the ball too long, but I don't expect that from Eli. So yeah, the Eagles are going to have to make sure again that they really have good coverage. And you know what? We'll talk about Odell Beckham here because this is he's probably going to play in the game. Now he does have a hamstring injury. He didn't practice today. He's day to day, but we can expect him to play. He's not going to miss this big game on Monday night. So he's not going to be 100%, but that doesn't matter because this guy he can catch the ball with his feet. He can catch the ball with one hand. He can catch it in his helmet. So the Eagles are going to have to be on this guy like glue. They might even have to double cover him.
Yeah, well, we'll get back to the double coverage thing that you referenced before the show because I am petrified. I am terrified of Odell Beckham going up against Byron Maxwell, and here's the reason why. Because Maxwell, when he does play really well, he plays the big and physical receivers really well. But the guys that he really struggles against, the guys that can really make him look bad, are those quick, shifty, kind of elusive receivers. I remember a game that the Seahawks had last year against the Broncos, and Emmanuel Sanders lit him up. So Beckham's stop and start ability is outstanding. It's extraordinary and really quick out of his breaks. And I'll tell you what, if I don't know if he's close to being 100% healthy, he's gonna torch Byron Maxwell. And I already see it on Twitter. We're gonna see the Byron Asamoah tweets. I'm scared. I'm scared of this matchup. But if he is unhealthy, if he is like say 50 to 75%, then at least Byron gets at least a little bit of a break.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's definitely a scary matchup. I mean, it's tough for anyone to defend Odell Beckham the way he's been playing. The guy is just he's a stud at wide receiver. So he's a really tough matchup. And how we get into this point, how they can combat, Odell Beckham, burning Maxwell. And what Eagles can do is they can do something that they did against the Jets with Brandon Marshall. And there was times in that game where they would have Connor Barwin out there on the line, just jamming Marshall so he couldn't get a head start. So you might see that again in this game where the Eagles do a bit of a double coverage, some bump and run with Barwin out there against Beckham.
Yeah, they would do that, and they would also, kind of buzz him out there to take away hitches and to take away the slant. So, definitely look for that from the linebackers, and the reason why you can do that is because, besides Beckham, I mean, the only other receiver they have is Ruben Randall. There's no Victor Cruz still. This is obviously the game last year where he got hurt, ugly injury last year. So Randall, I think Randall's like okay, but he's a very inconsistent receiver. You never know what you're going to get from him. So, but besides that, I mean, there's not much there. Their tight ends stink. Larry Donnell, I mean, I'm not big on him. And I believe the Giants. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they're right up there with the Eagles in terms of drop passes.
Yeah, no, you're right. They are. The Giants are definitely up there with the Eagles in terms of drop passes. So, yeah, it could be one of those games where we're seeing a lot of drop passes from the wide receivers, especially if with, besides Beckham, there's going to be a lot of drops in this game. So, yeah, it could be ugly. But I mean, the Giants really, besides Beckham, like you were saying, they really only have Randall out there too, and then they've got, I mean, they've Dwayne Harris, the former Cowboy, but he's more of a special teams guy, a returner. And after that, they really have a bunch of young guys.
Yeah, and I think they're going to have to throw the ball because I don't see how they can get a running game established against our front seven. So, I mean, Eagles are also among the league's best in stopping the run. I mean, Fletcher Cox, Benny Logan, you just can't run on these guys. So I think this is going to be a game where we're going to see a lot of passing, a bunch of passing, a lot of possessions, a lot of drops. So, we'll see. I think there will be points scored, and it should be fun.
Yeah, no, definitely. With the Giants, they have Rashad Jennings as a running back, and well, the Eagles have done an outstanding job of not allowing a running back to go off on them. They have a one of the longest streaks in the NFL right now with holding an individual rusher under 100 yards. So I think that Jennings, the same should continue this week. They should be able to hold him under the 100-yard mark. This is really this Eagles defense. One of the best parts about it is the defensive line and their ability to stop the run.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I guess we'll get to prediction time now because I did want to talk a little bit about the Chip Kelly speculation going back to college. So we'll kind of save the last part of the show for that. So let's get picks for this game. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, see, I'm going to say that the Eagles really put it together on offense this week. And I think that this is a game where Bradford really shines. I think that we're going to see the Bradford that we saw in that Green Bay preseason game. I think that with Bradford, we've seen a steady progression, a good progression going upwards. So besides those two picks last week, he's been doing a nice job considering where he started the season. It looks like he's taking a leadership role on the team by doing that last week with his speech in the shower. So I think that I got the Eagles winning this one. I'm gonna go 30-17.
Okay, all right. So you're actually really really similar to mine. I got 30-20. I think the Giants are a little bit overrated. I don't know. I am not seeing what other people are seeing about the Giants. So the Niners threw the ball against them pretty well, and the Niners, we know their passing game isn't very good. So I think the Eagles are gonna throw the ball pretty well against them, and I see a 10-point victory. So I think not that they win it handily, but semi-handily. So I think this could be the first game where the Giants are not leading in the fourth quarter. And to go to your point about going on a run, I'm kind of seeing it. This is kind of the point of the year where I look before the year. This is it's week 6 now, and I was giving Bradford until week 8. So obviously we're getting to that point where Bradford's got to get back to being his former self. And well, not that he ever had a former self in terms of the numbers, but he hasn't played in 2 years, but it's week 6 now. This is his 6th game, and the last 2 weeks have been some positive signs. And even though they're bad defenses, and we're going to see another bad pass defense this week, but if he can put 3 games together in a row, great sign moving forward. And next week is going to be a test because they'd be playing the Panthers.
Yeah, you're right. And, you look at the next few games with that big Panthers game on Sunday Night Football in Carolina. Then you get the bye week and then another Sunday night in Dallas. these next few games here are really, really key for the Eagles. I feel like that they really, if they wanted to lose a game, it would have to be the Panthers game. They got to win their division games. So the division is where it counts. And going back to your Giants point, how you think they might be a little bit overrated, I would definitely have to agree after watching them against the 49ers last week. That was really a game. I went into that game with the mindset that the Giants were just gonna, really, I thought they were gonna dominate the 49ers. I mean, this was a home game for the Giants, and the Niners. I mean, they're a team that's in turmoil right now. There was even talk there, in San Francisco that maybe Kaepernick needs to be taken out at quarterback and be replaced. So they were bad. And the fact that the 49ers actually had the lead in this game with less than 2 minutes to go is, just insane. So, yeah, like you were saying, I don't think that the Giants are that great. And I think that with the all black uniforms on, I think that this is a week where, the Eagles really start to continue to go in the right direction.
Yeah, completely agree. Completely agree. They're riding the ship, so to speak. And even the Panthers game next week, they're 4-0, but I think they're overrated too. Look, who have they beaten? They've beaten the Saints 1-4. They have beaten the Jaguars. They stink. They've beaten the Texans. They stink. And who was the other one they beat? I don't know who the fourth game is off the top of my head, but they haven't played anybody. So, I mean, I really think the Eagles are ready to go on a run. So, with that being said, let's move on to these Chip Kelly rumors, which I think are absolutely preposterous. I saw the other day about, that he's one of the two candidates for the USC job, and I'm just laughing to myself. I'm like, all right, so he's got complete control of an NFL franchise. So, yeah, he's just going to go back to college. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, sometimes I really feel bad for Chip Kelly because he gets a bad rap and everything. I mean, in the off season and at the start of the season, there's all the talks about the racist thing. I mean, come on, Chip Kelly is not a racist. And then then this college thing always comes up anytime a college coaching position becomes available. Somehow Chip Kelly's name gets thrown into it, and just because the Eagles don't have a winning record right now, everyone's like, oh, Chip Kelly, he wants to go back to college. He said today at his press conference, he was getting a little bit chippy with the media, and he pretty much said that, look, I'm not going back to college. I'm here with the Eagles, and the crazy part is, a lot of these fans too that say that Chip wants to go back to college. Most of those fans are the guy that wanted Chip to have his head taken off after the horrible start here.
I mean, why would he leave college in the first place? I don't know. It just makes absolutely no sense to me. But hey, I guess they got to print stories. It gets a lot of views. People click on it. I guess that's what it is. But come on. The only way he's going back to college is if he completely fails at the NFL level. If he can't, put together winning records and I don't know. I'd say he would get at least this year, next year, in terms of if he sucks for this year, next year, then I guess maybe he gets fired. But that's just not going to happen because I think Chip Kelly is one of the better coaches in this league. He still has a lot to learn because he does have the inexperience being a coach in the NFL. But I think he does have a very, very nice offensive mind. I do think he needs to get past his ego, though. I think he needs to change in that aspect. There are some things, like I said, he needs to change. But overall, I think he's a really, really good football coach.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So, yeah, I think that Chip is here to stay. So people just need to put to bed all these rumors about going back to college. He's here with the Eagles, and yeah, he's gonna stay unless he completely fails. And this is the point I wanted to make too with the whole Chip Kelly thing is that I can guarantee you this: he will not go back to college until, even if say this whole Bradford thing doesn't work out, they do miserable this year. I can guarantee you he will get rid of Bradford. He will do everything in his power to get the quarterback, whatever quarterback it is, in here to run his offense. And until that quarterback, his quarterback fails, then maybe he'll go back to college. But for now, he's here in the NFL.
Yeah, he's here to stay. So there's that. All right. The one thing we forgot to talk about really quickly, our underrated guy who we think will shine on Sunday. Well, Monday, playing on Monday. So who's a guy that we haven't talked about that you think can shine on Monday night?
Man, this is a tough one.
I don't want to say Josh Huff again.
I know. Are we going offense or defense?
Oh, anybody.
All right, I got a guy.
Don't
Not that this is an underrated guy, but I think that this is a game where Connor Barwin could have a big game. He's a guy that likes the bright lights, so I'm gonna go with Connor Barwin.
That's a good one because if he is going to be helping out on Beckham a little bit, jamming him at the line of scrimmage, buzzing out in coverage, getting to the quarterback, that's a good one. I don't know if Jordan Hicks is allowed, but I'll throw another name after Jordan Hicks if I can figure somebody out. But I think because the reason why I'm throwing his name out is because the Giants really like to utilize Vereen in the passing game, and Jordan Hicks has shown this year that he can be really, really solid in coverage on the running backs. He's immediately on the running backs in the flats. He's done a remarkable job. So I think he's a guy to watch out for. But does it really count because he's already been so good? So try to think of a name. I got nothing.
Yeah, no, we'll accept Hicks. I mean, I was the same way. That's why I struggled to come up with Barwin there. Yeah, but Hicks is kind of the guy that's really come out of nowhere. He's come out of the woodwork. All off season, we were talking about how in the world are the Eagles going to be able to play all three of their inside starting linebackers with only two spots. Well, now, we're talking about Jordan Hicks, who was so far, back in that depth chart. And because of injuries, he's came in and he showed that he can play. And the crazy part about the whole situation is he's played so well that, the Eagles would be complete idiots not to play him when Alonzo and Kendrick come back.
Yeah, if it were up to me, I would kind of shift D'Amico out of the equation a little bit more. He's kind of struggled this year, so I'd have Kiko, Kendricks, and Hicks kind of rotating in and out. That's the way I'd play it. And you know what? Share the snaps because Kendrick's always getting hurt. Kiko is obviously dealing with that knee injury, so that's kind of how I would play that situation.
Yeah, no, yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I think that's what I would do too, but I don't know if that's what the Eagles are going to do. They love their D'Amico Ryans. He's the leader of the defense and all, but he's definitely struggled a little bit coming back from that Achilles injury. So see what they do, but hey, on the positive side, it's always good to have more quality players at a position.
Yeah, absolutely. So with this, we've covered all bases for this game. I do have to get out of here. So it's final thoughts time. What do you got to say?
Yeah, well, I'm pumped up for these all black uniforms. I think that the all black uniforms just really get everyone fired up. It gets the fans fired up, gets the players fired up. This is only the second time now that the Eagles have worn the all black. They used to only wear the either black pants or the black jerseys, but last year they decided to put them all together and go with the all black unis. So I think that hopefully they put on those all black unis, and again, Bradford is going to have to wait until Monday night this time to call the all shower meeting. So gather everyone in the shower and get the boys fired up.
Oh man, and we're representing well too, because I did it accidentally. I'm wearing a black shirt. You got your black jersey on, so we're ready to go. We're ready for the blackout. We're back in black. I can't wait. So with that being said, that's Mike Owens. I'm Adrian Vedcu. Enjoy Monday night. I hope we win. We better win. Go Birds, baby.
Go Birds.